Mobilizations around the world are demanding the release of the global Sumud flotilla activists, kidnapped in international waters by Israel while on their way to the Gaza Strip carrying humanitarian aid. In Ecuador, President Noboa's government declared state of emergency for at least 10 provinces of the country after 14 days of natural strike. United States President Donald Trump authorizes the deployment of 300 National Guard soldiers to Chicago, being the fifth U.S. city where the National Guard is deployed amid protests against his deportation policies. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Sophie Fernandez from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Some of the global Sumud flotilla activists arrested while attempting to reach the Gaza Strip have returned to their countries of origin and denounced the ill treatment they received from the Israeli army, accusations that Benjamin Netanyahu's government denies. At least 450 activists were arrested when Israeli forces intercepted the global Sumud flotilla, comprising 42 ships attempting to break the Israel's naval blockade of the Gaza Strip and deliver aid to Palestinian territory. Upon their return on Saturday, the detainees stated that Israeli soldiers confiscated medicines and mistreated the prisoners. The arrest of the activists comes amidst efforts to achieve a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas resistance movement.
Unfortunately, the Israeli police, Israeli prison guards, and the Israeli Defense Forces, in my opinion, use truly Nazi methods. I cannot define them any other way. They kept us in the van, the bus that was transporting us, for 5 hours, tied up with plastic straps, 2 of us crammed into a 120 by 80 centimeter container. Constant stress and humiliation. They forced us to remain on our knees for 4 hours. I returned from prison with only a pair of flip-flops and a t-shirt. Everything else was stolen by the Israelis. All my luggage, which contained a lot of money, was stolen. During the 2 nights we spent in prison, we were subjected to all kinds of humiliation. There are 300 people, including 15 Italians, who are still there. The last thing we heard before leaving that country was that they still had 15 days of detention left.
In Palestine, despite agreements for a ceasefire between Hamas resistance movement and Israel, the number of Palestinian deaths has risen to more than 67,000 due to the Zionist aggression in the Gaza Strip. Health authorities reported that at least 67,139 Palestinians have been killed since the beginning of the Israeli aggression in October 2023. They warned that several victims remain trapped under the rubble, while ambulances and civil personnel are having difficulty reaching them. They also warned that the death toll could increase in the next few hours. The Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs reaffirmed on Saturday its support for the Palestinian resistance and called for an end to the ethnic cleansing in Gaza. The Iranian Foreign Ministry emphasized that the Palestinian people and the resistance must decide Gaza's future. It also warned that the rescue proposals that ignore Palestinian sovereignty. He reiterated its rejection of all forms of mass extermination and occupation, and expressed support for a process that includes the withdrawal of the Israeli army from Gaza, respect for the right to self-determination, and the immediate entry of humanitarian aid. He emphasized that the end of the Gaza crimes does not exempt perpetrators of war crimes and crimes against humanity from international criminal responsibility. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, citizens protested in support of the Palestinian cause and to condemn Israel's genocidal actions against the Gaza Strip. Protesters in Karachi voiced their opposition to the escalating genocide in the region, led by the United States and Israel. They also condemned the interception of the flotilla by the Zionist entity last Wednesday and the Zionist entity's crimes against the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, labeling them as war crimes or violations of international law. The Zionist entity of Israel lacks the historical basis for legal authority of the Palestinian territories. The Palestinian authorities demand a total withdrawal of Israel from their territories and the return of their citizens from Israeli prisons. Moving to Brazil, multiple protesters took to the streets to demand the release of activists from the global Sumud flotilla, kidnapped by Israel when they attempted to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza. Protests took place in the country's major cities, demanding a ceasefire and an end to the genocide against the Palestinian people, as Israeli occupation forces have killed more than 67,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Likewise, the Brazilian government has strongly condemned the interception of the global Sumud flotilla by the Israeli armed forces and has demanded the immediate release of 15 Brazilian activists kidnapped. During the protest, demonstrators demanded that the Brazilian government break off diplomatic and trade relations with Israel.
The flotilla was a humanitarian solidarity internationalist act, fundamentally an act of international solidarity that was very necessary and that will continue. It did not die here. This platform has been around for years, and with the genocide in Gaza and the Palestinian people as a whole, it was more than necessary to make that internationalist effort at the moment. Obviously, now fighting and hoping that our comrades will be released as soon as possible, because we know that they are being tortured, so the sooner they are released, we are waiting for them and we will continue to fight in the streets for their release. Yes, they are very courageous people who are doing what is important. If we can't go there, let's go off the streets then and do our part, so that human beings can take a stand against the cowardice that is going on. Freedom for our brothers who are there, bringing food to our brothers in Palestine.
In other news, the Iranian government says the agreement with the United Nations Nuclear Agency is no longer viable due to the reinstatement of sanctions against the country. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi further said that new decisions need to be made after United Nations reimposed sanctions on Iran for 10 years and demanded that it re-establishes direct negotiations with the United States on its nuclear program, plus accounting for the 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium that the International Atomic Energy Agency claims Iran has.
No longer serves as the basis for our cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Our decision on cooperation with the Energy Agency will be announced shortly. However, after the agreement was signed in Cairo, I said a reversal would change the situation completely, just like a military attack. Therefore, new decisions must be made, and, in my opinion, the Cairo agreement is no longer viable. The Cairo agreement no longer.
And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa signed a new state of emergency for 60 days in at least 10 provinces of the country. As of this Saturday, a state of emergency was declared for the regions of Pichincha, Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, and others nearby areas, amid social protests against the national government. The Ecuadorian president justified the measure after stating that in the 10 regions there are social events that disturb public order, for which reason he also suspended freedom of assembly for these provinces. For their part, indigenous Muslims are calling for a national strike in protest against the increase in diesel prices and the elimination of subsidies. Also in Ecuador, the indigenous peoples denounced the media criminalization of their protests and ancestral knowledge as part of the Noboa government's repressive strategy to silence dissent and validate state violence. In contrast to the criminalization narrative of alleged kidnapping and torture of soldiers by indigenous peoples, teleSUR obtained exclusive testimony for its own military, who confirmed that they were treated with respect for their physical integrity, dismantled of a campaign of corporate disinformation in favor of President Noboa. The indigenous communities claim to have exercised a jurisdictional right, reconsidered by the Ecuadorian law, after the violent incursion in Cotacachi that killed the Quechua leader Efraín Fuertes. Under their customs, the indigenous peoples held and subjected 13 repressive soldiers to a community trial, an act of indigenous justice that the ancestral leaders defended as a legitimate institutional response to state immunity.
First of all, I would like to apologize to the entire community for what happened on Sunday, and also thank the community that took us, fed us, gave us clothes, coats, and everything we needed day to day while we were there, here with them. I also ask you, Mr. President, to please engage in dialogue with our indigenous brothers so that the 12 detainees who are unjustly imprisoned are released, and that a dialogue is reached, because we want a country of peace, not a country of war. We do not want to fight against the people because we are all people. May God bless this community, and thank you for everything you have done.
In other news, in Argentina, candidate José Luis Esper withdrew as a candidate for the Deputy of Freedom Advances Party. Following the scandal surrounding his connection to Fred Machado, accused of drug trafficking in the U.S., Esper announced he would step aside with 20 days to go before the elections. In recent days, court documents from a case in Texas linked the congressman to the payment of $200,000, accused of exporting cocaine to the United States. Esper's resignation adds to the turmoil experienced by President Javier Milei's government, which has been hit with corruption and austerity claims during an economic crisis. His departure leaves a key position vacant in Buenos Aires and impacts the ruling party election strategy. Moving to Honduras, presidential candidate Rixi Moncada visited La Mosquita community as part of her electoral campaign. With traditional dances and music, citizens welcomed the presidential candidate of the Freedom and Refundation Party. Likewise, local authorities welcomed the campaign team that moved to Puerto Lempira, who at the same time called on the population to go out to vote on November 30. For her part, presidential candidate Rixi Moncada addressed the community, stressing that the refundation brought hope and development to the Mosquito people. In Cuba, Sunday morning at Havana's Revolution Palace, workers from the President's Council of Ministers and Central Committee joined a citywide cleanup effort to improve the capital's hygiene and beauty. President Miguel Díaz-Canel called for action against passivity, urging solutions to make Havana cleaner, more orderly and functional. Alongside top government and party officials, young people, workers and citizens participating in this collective sanitization. The campaign aims for sustainability and continued improvement amidst challenges in water and electricity supplies. Citizens express pride and responsibility, emphasizing how such efforts build community spirit and belonging, underlining the ongoing need for systematic care to keep Havana thriving.
There is a national call to action, and the population has responded. I believe people have acted responsibly, especially due to their dissatisfaction with the situation we were living through and becoming accustomed to. Life shows that issues like these can be resolved through operations like this, even amid the most complex circumstances. Although we made a strong effort over the weekend, we won't solve everything in just a few days. The work must continue through this week, focusing especially on what concerns people most. People have already seen a reaction. How will this be sustained? We will sustain it if we all work this way, every day. We must systematize what can be done daily and from time to time, conduct exercises like this. This is an issue that social media is creating a situation to confuse the people, and that is not really the case. Here we have many Fidelist revolutionaries revolutionaries who are capable of defending this revolution no matter what. And I know that there are people who truly follow this revolution, socialism.
What affects us is the issue of fuel. Oil is very important because we use it to supply the equipment of the 9 community teams we have here in the municipality, and that is how we carry out sanitation. The problem is that we have had issues with fuel, which is clearly related to the blockade.
We have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, but we'll be right back with more from the South. Don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, President Donald Trump authorized the deployment of 300 California National Guard soldiers to the city of Chicago. Chicago becomes the 5th city in the U.S. where President Donald Trump deploys the National Guard over protests against his policy of mass deportation. Also, as justification, the White House declared the metropolis as a war zone. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker rejected the narrative, accusing Republicans of prompting chaos and fabricating a crisis for political purposes. This is part of Trump's strategy to stigmatize cities governed by his political opponents as centers of anarchy and violence, justifying unprecedented federal intervention. Moving to Australia, New South Wales police are investigating the motives behind a shooting in Sydney that left 20 people injured, one of them in critical condition. The shooting occurred on Sunday on a street in Croydon Park, where there are a number of restaurants and fast food outlets. According to the interim superintendent Stephen Parry, between 50 and 100 bullets were fired indiscriminately at passersby over a 2-hour period, hitting cars, buses, and other objects at random. The alleged perpetrator was captured during the night by the authorities, who have so far revealed few details about his identity. He is a 60-year-old man from whom several firearms were seized. Approximately 70 people have died in northern India and Nepal due to landslides caused by heavy rains. Floods and landslides are common during monsoon season in South Asia, but experts say climate change is increasing their frequency, severity, and impact. In the Indian district of Darjeeling, located in the northern state of West Bengal, over 20 people lost their lives. The storm also hit Nepal, where at least 49 people have died and more than a dozen remain missing. Last year, torrential rains between September 27 and 29 caused floodings and landslides that left more than 200 deaths throughout Nepal. Meanwhile, in China, Guangdong and Hainan provinces in the south have taken various measures against Typhoon Matmo, the 21st of the 2025 Pacific typhoon season, which made its landfall around the eastern coast of Sichuan County. Following the typhoon warning, Sumud mobilized over 2,250 officials to root out hidden dangers, recall fishing boats back to port, coordinate evacuations, stockpile supplies, and take emergency rescue and relief efforts across communities, rural villages, and enterprises. To date, over 20,000 residents have been evacuated to shelters. The provincial capital of Haikou City preemptively opened 54 indoor shelters on Saturday for residents living in high-risk areas, such as random buildings and low-lying flood-prone zones. On Monday, October 6th, the first and only supermoon of 2025, called Harvest Moon, will appear larger and more golden than usual. It's the full moon closest to the autumn equinox. In the northern hemisphere, it often looks warmer in color, appearing orange or amber as it rises through Earth's atmosphere. Astronomers said the event will be visible across the globe because it's occurring at full moon, as long as the skies are clear. For centuries, it provided farmers with extra light to gather crops before the nights grew longer. The harvest supermoon also coincides with the draconic meteor shower, Through the moon's brightness is likely to make the faint shooting stars harder to see.
Supermoon occurs October 6th, and it will be visible everywhere around the world because it's occurring at full moon. And since the whole planet will be able to see full moon, everyone will be able to experience this supermoon event, as long as the sky is clear.
After years of restoration work, the tomb of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, one of the largest in the Valley of Kings and Queens in southern Egypt, was officially inaugurated. Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, Sherif Fatih, presented the newly restored tomb, which dates back more than 3,000 years, to the media. For its part, the Regional Directorate of the UNESCO stated that 260 specialists, from researchers to conservatories, two highly qualified technicians worked on the restoration for 20 years. In 1799, during Napoleon's short occupation of Egypt, the site was recorded for the first time. After a long series of excavations, thefts, and serious damage, the tomb was restored with the collaboration of the Japanese government and UNESCO. And moving to Australia, celebrates the 38th edition of the Flotilla Festival at Canberra's Commonwealth Park, which is considered as one of the largest spring celebrations in the world. The festival kicks off on September every year and lasts until mid-October, period in which the event attracts thousands of visitors. Flotilla Festival exhibits curated flower beds, spanning 8,000 square meters and crafted to reflect the theme of this edition, science and nature. The event organizer anticipates as 500,000 people to pass through the gates over the span of the celebration. Flotilla Festival will run until October 12, 2025, showing off a breathtaking flower scenario. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Sophie Fernandez. Thank you for watching.